next to me, as always, Joe right below me. I'm not sure actually which you're this way on my
Yep.
browser, but I think you're this way as the people are watching. But anyway, you're next to me. Joe's
It's the
below us.
same way. The people see it the same way.
Oh, it is. Okay,
Yeah.
cool,
Right.
good. Well, anyway, now that we've gotten that out of the way, how's everyone doing? Are you watching the Masters this weekend?
Joe, you go first.
I have been. I actually have it on right now. Tiger is just about to bogey here. Not a great slate of college football today,
Yeah.
so big opportunity to watch the Masters.
I haven't watched any of it yet, but Sunday at the Masters is always like a must watch. So I'll be tuning in then. I've kept an eye on the scoreboard. I saw DeChambeau just about made the cut, but yeah, there's some interesting names up at the top.
Is he still your pick to win, James?
No, he's. I'll take him off my pick to win. That was a bad pick. I hate Bryson, so it was like a win-win for me. If he won, then I picked him, so it's good. If he misses the cut, it's even better. I know Joe's a huge Bryson fan. He likes anyone that everyone else hates. So sorry about your guy, Joe.
I just want to again state that that's still not true. Hasn't been true. But it's been a really weird Masters. We have Rory, who was playing horribly that first on Thursday. He's like right back into the thread here. And then we had somebody pick Ricardo pick Abraham Answer.
And spot on.
Who was right there. I mean, this is unbelievable.
It's crazy.
Is this the Mexican guy that's in?
Yes.
Yes.
Is he still in second place on the leaderboard?
Well,
for,
Dan,
yes.
he's just one of my friends. You don't have to call him the Mexican guy. But yeah, Ricardo did pick Answer.
See, you're throwing shots at him. I don't even know this guy, so it's nothing on me.
And I picked Patrick Cantley. So we're both looking good.
Did you bet on Answer after he gave you that inside?
Of course.
Yeah.
After you get the inside information from Ricardo. I didn't get as good of odds because we recorded Thursday after day one.
Yeah, he was.
Didn't get as good of odds as I would have been.
I think he was leading after. Yeah, I think he was leading after Thursday or Friday.
He was like right there Thursday, but I still got decent odds because he's still not expected to win, obviously. But we're not talking about that today. We're not talking about the real Masters, which Dan's actually able to attend. I am just sitting in front of a painting of Amen Corner. So props to Dan for making the trip out there. But we're drafting the worst. What'd you call it, Dan? The worst FourBall of all time.
FourBall.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you show up to the golf course. You get paired with 3 other players and 4 caddies. So 1 for each player, 1 for yourself. This is who we believe would be the worst of the worst. So I'm going to throw it into the randomizer here, right live on the show this time. And we'll see. So the randomizer says, I'm never gonna pick first. It's Joe, Dan, and me. Or wait, Joe, me, and Dan. Sorry. I'm always gonna be second. The randomizer hates me. I've put myself in different slots every time. And
I think the
always end up-
randomizer's got the exact same order 3 times in a row now, isn't it?
Didn't you go first last week, or did Joe go first last week?
I've gone first every single time.
Yeah,
That's
it's good though. I like it. The randomizer does what the
What are the
randomizer
odds?
wants.
What are the odds? That's so weird.
Yeah.
I was thinking we should just do this a regular draft because we're picking 2 players each round. There shouldn't be too much overlap. If there is, I think that's fine. So we'll just go Joe.
Oh, we're going
me.
2 players per round. I had player caddy.
Or I'm sorry, we're going
Yeah.
2 picks per round. Player caddy. So we'll go Joe, me, Dan, then back to Joe.
Cool.
Instead of snaking it. So Joe, who are you going to start with here as your worst to play with?
Abraham Answer about to birdie here.
Okay.
Ooh, big miss. Really close though. Michael Jordan and Charles Oakley. Oak as the caddy, Jordan as the player. You would just basically be in financial ruins by the time you are at, I don't know, hole 3, 4. And I just don't think Jordan has enough good stories that he's willing to share to make that worth it. So
Yeah. And why Oakley?
Oakley is the enforcer of Michael. He's the kind of bodyguard to his gambling exploits. So.
Okay. I like it. So Michael Jordan, Charles Oakley for you. My first pick's a personal vendetta, a guy that personally I don't like. I'm going to go with Sully Sullenberger, who's the pilot who flew the plane into the Hudson River. I'm just not a fan. I just don't want to hear about him talking about his exploits, and he's not. So I've good inside information that he is on the CBS News payroll. And when he comes into studio, he always is talking about that famous flight. I feel like he kind of screwed up his job by flying into a flock of birds, and then did his job by landing the plane safely. So I don't want to hear that. And then the caddy, if Sully's going to be talking about that, we need someone who's going to be trying to top him with other fake stories. So I'm going with Brian Williams, the disgraced NBC anchor. I don't think I could sit through an entire day of listening to them go back and forth. Williams talking about all his times in the Iraq War, and Sully talking about that plane. So that's just a personal vendetta for me that I had to get out of the way.
I think that's a good pick. I mean, even if he was a nice guy, you're still hearing the same story over and over again.
Exactly. I mean, he's a one trick pony. You know, what are his other stories just going to be about? How he successfully landed planes on tarmacs previously? Right. He was just a pilot. So do you know either of those guys, Dan, by the way?
I know the Sully guy. Tom Hanks played him in a film, didn't he? But I don't know the Brian someone.
I'm actually obligated to bring up, every time I talk about Sully, bring up the fact that there's a scene in that movie where Michael Rappaport plays a bartender, and Sully walks in, and Rappaport goes, "Hey, you're that pilot guy. We named a drink after you." He's like, "It's vodka with a splash of water." And then that's, his big line in that movie. Terrible movie. The biggest whiff. I mean, what a whiff of a movie about, one singular story. It should have been a 10-minute, YouTube clip.
Yeah, just an information video.
But anyway, clearly I have a grudge. So let's move on to yours.
I like it. Tough picks to follow. I'm taking so my first pairing is going to be this guy's not alive anymore, actually, but I thought I'd take him anyway. Kim Jong-il.
That's fine. I have a dead person.
Kim Jong-il, famously shot 38 under back in, I think, 94. So, he's players are going to really not enjoy playing with this guy because he's hitting a couple of hole-in-ones, birdieing, or like taking 2 shots on a par 5. So albatross, many times around. So yeah, Kim Jong-il, and I thought, I gotta have a caddy for him that's gonna understand the culture, that knows his nephew, I think, Kim Jong-un. So I'm gonna take Dennis Rodman as his caddy, who's famously spent time with Kim Jong-un, knows the family well. But I think, as a caddy, he might be a little bit unreliable. He won't always show up on time. And if we're playing against maybe Jordan on another FourBall, then he'll have some inside information. So yeah, I'm taking Dennis Rodman and Kim Jong-il as my first combination. Then second, hold
on. We'll go to Joe. We'll go back to Joe.
We're just doing it that way. Okay.
Yeah. Just do a straight draft.
Close.
Yeah.
Damn it.
So it's all right. We
should have rethought my strategy
here.
Maybe I've just given up one of the good ones. But yeah, all right. Back to Joe.
My second is John Legend as the player and Chrissy Teigen as the caddy.
I love that.
Just brutal, just 2 brutal people. Couldn't imagine spending upwards of 3 hours with them on a course. Maybe the little success you get a couple Instagram followers from it because you're going to post the whole thing. But they are just insufferable. Everybody knows it. And it's not even like a Sully thing. I do think most people, even though you look at the Twitter and you see the just sheer admiration for these 2 people, I do think more people are like me. And I hope more people like me. And
I'm right with you, Joe.
Yeah, just brutal. And I like John as a songwriter. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Ordinary People, So High, Green Light. I mean, they're tremendous songs. So he's just thrown it all away with this ridiculous relationship he's in.
I agree. Dan, where do you fall on the Chrissy Teigen John Legend?
Probably far enough out of it, being over in the UK, that we don't really. Most people over here like both of them, I think, individually, but we don't see them as much as a couple. I know they're very anti-administration, current presidential administration, all that.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's most famous for La La Land, really, over here these days.
For La La Land.
Am I imagining that? I'm sure he's.
He might have been. I've seen the movie.
Oh, he was.
Yeah,
he was
yeah,
in La La Land. That's
yeah.
right.
I
He was
remember.
That's right. He was the musical
Start a Fire song
producer
yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think they're generally kind of quite well liked over here. So that's good to hear from you, Joe, that there's a counterculture
That you shouldn't like them.
Yeah.
Who is what's Chrissy Teigen famous for besides being married to John Legend?
She did
swimsuit model for sports.
the lip sync
okay.
battle thing as well, I think.
Yeah, I think that was all after she got married, though.
Yeah.
The lip sync battle. Yeah. Okay. My mom chimed in, by the way, said I'm way too hard on Sully. Would probably think differently if I was on the plane, but I'm just saying, did his job. So, all right. For my second pick, I'm going with Bill Cosby. I think that one is relatively self-explanatory. Just would be an insufferable person to be with all day. I don't want to hear any of his stories. But he's also blind. I felt like that might be a detriment on the course. So for his caddy, I did go with a dead person, Dan, but I went with Ludwig von Beethoven, who's very famously deaf. So I'm just thinking those two trying to play together, trying to figure out where the ball is at all times might be difficult. Golf's already long enough. If we're playing 18 holes, 4 hours, I don't need another 2 hours of them trying to communicate where to shoot and where to hit, where to find it. So I'm out on that pairing. I think most of us should be, except Joe was shaking his head, so maybe not.
I was actually shaking my head at how good Dustin Johnson is.
Oh,
he just got another birdie. I just think this is his to lose today and tomorrow.
And he probably will. It's kind of the Dustin Johnson thing. Dan, who's your second pairing?
My second pairing, I'm gonna go with the golfer will be The Rock, appearing again, two shows in a row for us in our drafts. And I think the reasoning is more for his caddy. His caddy's gonna be Kevin Hart. I don't think these two are funny together. I think they'd be two of the worst people to have to spend 18 holes with, trying to crack jokes and do little skits and stuff. Big and small jokes, I couldn't deal with that for 18 holes. So yeah, nothing really against them individually, but together, I don't want to spend the best part of sort of 3 hours with those two. So,
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. That's a great pick. I know Joe's a huge Kevin Hart fan, so you might have offended him on that. But I
from day one.
You were. Yeah, I'll give you that. You were probably the first to ever be out on Kevin Hart, but I was right there behind you, so it's good. All right, that's a great pick, Dan. Let's move into our third pairing here. How are we rounding it out before we get to your own caddy, Joe?
So this is going to be tough for the international crowd, but there is a new worst radio pairing in radio history, and that is Craig Carton and Evan Roberts. Just an absolute train wreck of a show, and everybody's telling to be patient. They got to find their footing. It is as bad as it gets. I know you probably haven't listened to it. I've listened every day. On Monday, I was able to listen to the beginning of it. It is as bad as you can imagine. It is just these 8th grade jokes from Craig Carton about Evan Roberts and how he's a nerd and all this stuff. And it's just, it's really, really hard to listen to for many reasons. Evan toes the line of his, addiction, with Craig, and he wants to ask him questions about jail. You can just tell. And Craig doesn't know anything about sports. I mean, he didn't know anything about sports before, and he doesn't know a thing about sports. The callers just call in and make fun of Evan. The same callers who loved Evan with Joe now are like totally flipped on him.
How many hours do they have? They have 4 hours?
4 hours, 2 to 6. Yeah. I'm sorry, 2 to 7. 2 to 7.
So 5 hours. Jeez.
Yeah. 2 to 7.
And
if you go on their Twitter too, because it's not simulcast yet, but they do some kind of video, maybe on the app. Evan wears this like enormous mask too. It just makes the visual so much worse. And it is, I don't see it lasting long. But if you have an opportunity, Carton and Roberts makes Maggie, Carlin, and Bart look like Mike and the Mad Dog.
a very niche regional pick, but I like it. That it would be terrible.
Bad, dude. It is really bad. But I had to get it off my chest, so yeah.
That's good. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna go, and I don't know if either of you guys will really know who I'm talking about here, but I'm gonna go with my third player. I'm gonna go with both of the Property Brothers. I don't know if you ever watched the Property Brothers.
Oh yeah, I think I know. Wait.
Yeah, I actually I don't mind the show. I just think they are two of the most annoying people on the planet, and it seems like they just do everything together. So I don't know if there's a situation where one would be behind the other and they're both hitting the ball, or if they're taking turns or whatever. But I really wouldn't want to spend a full day with the Property Brothers. Still have no idea. What do you say, Joe?
Are they actually brothers?
They are actually brothers. One of them's they're identical twins. One of them's with Zoe Deschanel, which just makes no sense to me. And then for my third caddy, I'm going Chris Christie. I wouldn't want to spend a full day golfing with Chris Christie. I don't think that he would spend a full day carrying clubs. I think he'd probably drop the bags around hole 3, and then he'd be walking around telling you his ridiculous Trumpian beliefs. So I'm out on Chris Christie.
Can I interject really quick and do a 1
sure.
degree of separation? So when I was listening to Carton and Roberts yesterday, they were talking about something, and it got to the topic of fantasy football. Craig Carton was in a fantasy football league with Boomer Esiason, Chris Christie, Bobby Flay, the guy from Man vs. Food, and the lead singer of Creed.
How are they all friends?
I don't know.
Adam Richman,
yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't connect at all.
Yep. So Scott Stapp, Chris Christie, Boomer, Craig, Adam Richman, and Bobby Flay. I mean, just the best group of 6 people you could ever think of.
That is pretty incredible. That is pretty incredible. But yeah, so I've kind of skirted the rules here with 3. I count it could be just the Property Brother. They're basically just.
I think they would be better caddies to Chris Christie play, and the Property Brothers play the caddies.
Well, I know, but I think that would be a more manageable pairing. The fact that Chris Christie is going to be carrying the bags around and complaining about it all day,
true.
You know, it makes it more unmanageable for me.
Yeah.
So who's your third here? Your third pairing?
So my third, again, going with the, would you want to spend 3 hours with these people, telling you stories, trying to convince you to sign up to things that they like. So I'm taking another throwback to last week's draft. I'm going to take Tom Cruise.
Nice.
Now we all know there's an S word that we'll try not to say.
We don't want to get flagged.
He may bring some intensity to the course from T1. You're lacing up your shoes in the car park, and Tom's turning up on his motorbike. And he's already, he's seen you. He's spotted an opportunity. He's trying to convince you to do different things and not maybe medicate certain people and whatever. And I'm thinking, like, who would be the worst caddy for Tom Cruise? And it's got to be David Miscavige, who is the leader of the S word. There'd be a power struggle there. Miscavige would not want to be Cruise's caddy for the day. Cruise would be trying to impress Miscavige. It would be just a horrible 3 hours for everyone involved. Probably would end up in some kind of physical violence. And yeah, it's just an awful look for Augusta Golf Club. Really,
I love it. I love it. I thought
Miscavige.
I thought you were setting up something to say, like, someone who's trying to sell you on something all day, like someone who runs a pyramid scheme, like a Tony Robbins type, someone like that. But I think Tom Cruise is way, way, way worse.
Well, I think I'm more or less maybe have suggested that something's a pyramid scheme, but we'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't say it.
But yeah, no, that's a great pick. As Dan said, we won't be saying the S word on here because we don't want knocks on our doors tomorrow morning.
I'm fine. I'm over here in London. But...
Yeah, true. You are. There's actually a church of S word at this building near where I have to go sometimes for work, and you pass it, and it, I'm fine because I don't have nearly enough money to ever warrant them coming after me.
Yeah.
But I've always been tempted to go inside. I don't think you're allowed to just go inside, but always been tempted. Joe, who's your caddy to round it out?
So I want to say my honorable mention after I do say my caddy.
Okay.
Just to be clear. But my caddy is going to be Logan Paul.
Nice.
Because I think he would make this some kind of TikTok frenzy and be totally
It's a great pick.
over the top. And even though I don't golf at all, I feel like it would make that even worse for me. But I do want to say that's my on the board pick. But my honorable mention is more of my legitimate pick. So
okay, so you save it just in case for some reason we have your honorable mention. That is a great pick. I went with Carrot Top. I just can't imagine asking for my driver and he pulls out a bassoon and he's just constantly squirting me with a water gun and playing his Carrot Top pranks all day. So I couldn't imagine a worse caddy, even if it was just me and Carrot Top and the other three weren't even there to play. That would be torture for me. Dan, who's your caddy?
So I actually went with someone that kind of would make my life a little bit easier. Assuming that we have carts. We're using carts on this round.
I was actually assuming we were walking.
We were walking it. Okay, well actually then this maybe works well then for this person not having a good time. I've gone for Lewis Hamilton, F1 superstar, most decorated driver of all time. He would not enjoy spending 3 hours not being able to drive a cart around. But yeah, I was thinking,
if he was driving a cart, I get what you're saying.
It'd be awesome. It'd be absolutely awesome to be driven around by Lewis Hamilton. Even if maybe he actually didn't have a cart and he had the F1 cart, and I would just kind of get on the spoiler or something between shots. That'd be awesome. It would absolutely ruin the course, but yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. So yeah, Lewis Hamilton's going to be my caddy on this. How are we going to do the honorable mentions?
So let's do our pairings first. So you said FourBall, they pair up,
yes.
right?
Yes.
So pick your pairings here, and then we'll do the honorable mention. So Joe, who would you have? What groupings would you put together on this?
I don't know what that means, to be honest with you.
Okay, so you have two players
totally out of golf culture.
So yeah, you have two players are basically playing together against the other two players, right, Dan?
Yeah, I think you take, and I think in a tradition in a FourBall, you take the best score from so the two players both just play the hole out, and then say one of them gets a birdie and one of them gets a par, you'd score the birdie.
Okay, of my own team.
Of your own team, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, it's got to be me and Michael then, and then Craigie and John Legend. I'm obviously the worst golfer out of the four.
Yeah. You're going to lose so much money. Or I guess
Michael I'd rather
betting
with my team. Yeah, on my team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point.
Wise.
And he should elevate your.
He might make you a good teammate. So yeah.
I didn't go with anyone I would want to play with. So if we're sticking with the worst here, I'll pair myself with Sully. I'll just throw myself right into the fire. I'm not pairing myself with Bill Cosby. I'll put him with the Property Brothers. So yeah, me and Carrot Top will play with Sully and Brian Williams.
Do you think anytime there's any sort of water feature on the course, Sully will kind of make a joke about landing a plane on there, or
he'll probably intentionally shoot his ball on there and be like, "Oh, if this was a plane, it would have stayed afloat."
I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. I've got to pair up with Kim Jong-il. The guy's shooting 38 under. Talent is talent, and I don't want to lose this. So it will be Dwayne Johnson and Tom Cruise will be on one team, and then me and Kim Jong-il on the other.
Wow.
That's
birdie for answer there. Sorry.
Joe, who's your real pick honorable mention?
My real pick honorable mention is, if both of you have seen this, when I do play boxing against Mr. Creange, Uncle Michael in my ear would be just brutal while I was golfing. I couldn't imagine.
I love that.
The tips and tricks he would have for me.
Oh, man.
It's out of love. I would, getting coffee is one thing. Watching the game is another thing. But I would not want him in my ear as I was golfing. So
yeah, really any sport.
Yeah, it's not so much a golf thing. It's just I know how it is with boxing, and I know it'd be even worse on the links. So
it's a great pick. It's a great pick. Yeah, I had I mentioned before, but I had like Tony Robbins, Joel Osteen, those kind of televangelist, self-help people. I just can't imagine spending a full day with them. And I think actually everyone on my list, I would be more comfortable spending, the 4 hours with, except probably Bill Cosby, than one of those people. So I just couldn't even put myself in the situation to spend a full day with a Tony Robbins type. Who'd you have, Dan? Did you have any honorable mentions?
Obviously, like I think the obvious one that none of us went for would be Trump in there, and then just like the litany of possible caddies that he could have had in maybe Portnoy, Hannity, Carlson, Fauci, any of these guys, Como. I would have liked to have seen just like a whole group of guys just competing to not be his caddy for the day. But yeah, that was pretty much mine. I mean, I had Woody Allen on there. I think would have made a bad caddy. Stevie Wonder for obvious reasons. Charlie Chaplin, he wouldn't have spoken. You'd be asking for advice. He wouldn't be able to speak. Maybe any of the famous pirates that wore eye patches, because obviously with one eye it's very hard to judge distance. So yeah, Long John Silver or Blackbeard, one of those guys. Captain Jack Sparrow, maybe even for a popular kind of Disney cultured audience that we have here on the SNG weekly wrap up.
Your group just got canceled.
Yeah.
With Captain Jack.
Captain Jack. So yeah, maybe Johnny Depp would have been a good shout. But those are my honorable mentions. I don't think I've missed anyone out there.
Yeah, I think if we were doing, and maybe we will do this at some point, if we were doing best pairings to be with, or someone to play with, I might have picked OJ, because OJ famously was able to hit the ball into the woods and have it land on a tee. And that kind of skill you can't teach. So kind of like your Kim Jong-il pick, kind of same thing.
Yep.
But yeah, I would maybe we'll do this again with best pairings at some point. But we'll be thinking of a new list for next week. Joe, what are we looking at with the Masters? Let's get one final update.
We have John Rahm, who kind of like topped over a ball, and like as good as his water shot was, this was as bad as this shot was.
Oh wow!
Okay.
And he's tied for fourth. I think he's just coming off a birdie. But dude, Abraham has a real chance here, and I'm hard pressed to find another podcast that had the Abraham answer pick. I don't know what to say because I haven't even heard one announcer all week. So I might be saying it totally wrong, but he's locked in, man. Really good.
Those shout out Ricardo on that one for sure. Even though Dan tried to slander him at the beginning of the podcast. What was I going to ask you? The other question here about the Masters? I don't remember. I had one more question, but that's all right. Dan, do you want to shout out your Twitch channel? We'll be streaming later today.
Oh, Rom is about to. He might quadruple bogey. I'm sorry. He just hit. He went from that top slicing shot and he just hit a tree right in the middle of it.
Dan. Twitch.tv/Dan_BTF. Yeah, we'll be playing later on. I think 3 Central Time.
3 Central Time, 4 Eastern Time. 9.
We got our first win. We got our first win yesterday, didn't we? In duos.
We did. Probably the least I've ever deserved a victory in anything was our win yesterday in duos. So
I vouch for that.
That was fun. Yeah, that was fun to have. Yeah. But yeah, thank you everyone who watched this show. Like I said last week, leave us some comments on some drafts we can do for next week. But we will be back next Saturday. Let's say same time.
Yep. Same time.
Maybe half hour earlier next week. But yeah, we'll be back same time. So thanks everyone for listening and go check out SNG Network.